Hello, and welcome back to a special bonus roundtable episode of Tea, Tentacles, and Talk, cozy conversations about LGBTQ plus romance. I'm your host, Chloe Archer, and I write sci-fi, and paranormal rom-coms with humor, heat, and plenty of zany shenanigans. I'm joined today with lots of fabulous guests, and I'm going to have everyone go around and briefly introduce themselves. So let's start with Kiki.
Hello, I'm Kiki Clark. I write paranormal and contemporary romance. There tends to be a lot of heat and a lot of humor and sometimes a little kink. Okay, a lot of times a little bit of kink. So I'm very excited to be here on the second special edition episode of this this podcast.
Lee.
Hi guys, I'm Lee, and I write spicy fantasy and paranormal romance. I particularly like vampires. Those are kind of my favorite, and I'm excited to be here. It's my first podcast, so thank you for having me.
Yay, thank you for joining us. Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox. I write mostly contemporary and murder swoon. I'm workshopping that, but that's what I do. But I also really do enjoy, I do enjoy on the side doing a little bit of paranormal. And so I'm excited to be a part of this anthology. So do a little bit of everything, but yeah, contemporary and murder swoon mostly.
Wonderful. Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Cody, and I write mostly paranormal romance, some comedy, some just a few contemporary, and it's all just fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us here today. I know I'm super excited to talk about this amazing anthology. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to Kiki, who is sort of one of the lead organizers for the collection, to ask a little bit about how this anthology came about and why the two charities were chosen for this particular anthology.
Sure. So the anthology came about kind of by accident. Me and a couple of other authors got invited to do an anthology that was for paranormal romance authors. And we were very excited about it. But the more we learned about it, the more we're like, these people aren't authors. It was kind of, they kind of just do anthologies like that. That's like their business model or whatever. So the more we thought about it, the more we're like, they don't know. They don't know the community like we know the community. We should just do it ourselves. So we left that one and started brainstorming an idea. It came up with the general, let's keep it super, just fated mates. That's the trope that kind of ties all paranormal romance together. Like we're gonna do that. We're going to get as many authors as we can. We're going to make it awesome. We're going to prove that paranormal romance is just as awesome and vibrant as contemporary is. And there was a little bit of shakeup and who was participating and who was organizing. The whole USA Today getting rid of their bestsellers list, but we were like, we're still doing it because we're doing it for charity, and it's a great opportunity to A, raise money for these charities, B, work with amazing authors, share stories, give treats to readers who have supported us. So we were like, let's keep doing it. So the two charities that are getting all of the royalties that are earned are the Transgender Defense. I always mess it up. The Transgender Legal Defense and Education Fund and the ACLU's Drag Defense Fund. And we chose these. Well, we were going to just choose one, but then everyone's like, why don't we just do both? Because how do you pick between the two? So we ended up just going with both of them. We're going to split it equally. And it kind of came down to right now, these communities need the most support. Like it is very important to us to support the entire LGBTQ community, but specifically parts of the community that are being attacked. So that's why these charities were chosen. We're very excited to be able to give them as much money as possible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think this is such a worthwhile cause. And, thank you to all the listeners and viewers who have already pre-ordered your copies. And those of you who are planning to buy still or read on KU, know that your contribution is going to something really worthwhile. And honestly, for $9.99, you are getting so much bang for your buck with this anthology.
Y'all are wordy.
Right. So Kiki gave us a 30K word count limit, and how you said like a pretty large percent of the contributions were closer to 30 than
yeah, I didn't count.
Yeah.
But the majority of you all were closer to 30 than 20.
I was an offender on that one.
Yes.
I get 50 some words to spare.
Well, and I would like to say that I am a rule follower, and the first limit was 20,000, but nobody could keep to that. But so I feel like a dork. Mine's 18,000.
Mine's 17. We are
good.
together.
It
is good. I was like, I'm gonna keep mine short because y'all are gonna go long. Everyone wants to do a paperback. Like, we need to try and condense this.
I also managed 18,000 words.
There you go.
Jennifer.
Oh, wow.
I like it. It's mostly people who aren't here, who can't even defend themselves.
Okay, but that makes it.
No, I'm one of the problem people. I apologize. This is only the second short that I have written for publication. I've done some free short stories and stuff for readers, but as a newer author, partly I wanted to test out, like I wanted to gain more experience doing this. And let me tell you, it is hard. There is an art to writing a short, particularly in romance, when you've got an expectation with fated mates of an HEA, or at least a really, really solid HFN at the end of that, short story. And to bring in some of the world building as well as the romance and hit all those beats and stuff, it can be kind of tricky. So I'm super excited to read all the different contributions here, not least of which is because, of course, they're by amazing authors, and I'm like super honored to have been invited to participate in this. But like also because I, from a writer perspective, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be taking notes. How did they do this? Why, how did they, get this so short? What, so I could learn some tools of the trade for future, hopefully when I do other anthologies in the future. So, but I love the fact that you decided on the fated mates trope. I think that is definitely kind of the first thing that pops to mind anytime you think paranormal, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of go around and ask everyone what they like most about the fated mates trope and why.
For me, it is definitely the idea that there is someone or multiple someones out there who are created for you, whether, depending on what your world building is, it's gods, fates, whatever. They are your other half, they complement you in ways that a regular partner couldn't, so, and you get to play with that aspect of it. You can throw up roadblocks in front of them and know that, hey, they're gonna come together and they're gonna overcome them together. So that's what I kind of like about it.
Well, and to what Kiki is saying, I like the throwing of the. I've only done fated mates twice, and they were both in anthologies, it turns out. But I love that. Actually, I love that fated mates. Two things. Fated mates works really well in short form because it has that insta love, insta smacked over the side of the head impact. So it makes for a really good, impactful short, I think. And then I really love it when the mates are like, no, this is not happening. This is not happening. They're backing out. And they cannot, like they get halfway out the door and they're like, what the fuck is happening to me? With the bleep, sorry. I don't know if I can curse on here.
You can.
I'm pretty sure I already have. So
okay, good. Thank you, Kiki. But that's what I like, is that I like that it actually works really well in a short form. And I love that thought that even if I wanted to, I couldn't. and and then because then there's that really cool moment of falling of like all the bricks fall and you can't help but give into it. And I love writing that moment, and I love reading that moment. So
I like Fated Mates just because like Kelly said, it does lend itself towards short form because of the insta love, insta lust kind of format of it. But my favorite thing about it is just like, and you're going to see this in my writing if you read it, like I like couples that are very complementary, that all of the roadblocks that do get put up are like outside of the relationship. Sorry, Kelly.
No, that's a good one too. Yeah. That's how I normally write, so I guess that's why I like this, because it's a change. But yeah.
I just really like seeing couples that are just really perfect for each other, and the idea of it not being a lot of work to become perfect for each other. They're already that way, and so no matter what happens, they're going to make it through. I really like that.
Yeah, Lee, what do you think?
Oh gosh, everybody said it better than I could have, for sure. I agree with all of that, and I was going to say mostly what Jennifer said is I just super like lately really prefer when any of the angst or problems come from outside of the relationship rather than in it, and I think Fated Mates just lends itself to that if that's what you feel like writing. So I agree.
Yeah, I sort of like the way, I mean, there's obviously something kind of like that takes you back to that kind of like high school being in love with love idea of like destiny, right? Whether it's cosmic, magical, whatever, right? Prophesied. But I also sort of like the fact that with Fated Mates, it always kind of, it's like a, perfect together or your money back guarantee kind of thing, right? Like they're not going to get divorced. Their feelings aren't going to change for each other. They're not ever going to stray romantically from their fated mate or mates. They're always going to be 100% committed. And I think when we live in a world where over 50% of marriages end in divorce and all of that kind of stuff, there's something sort of really delightfully fantastical about the fated mates kind of concept, and as a sort of romantic fantasy that we can kind of sink our teeth into, no pun intended, in the paranormal sense.
No pun
fully intended. I love it.
It's fully intended.
Well, and I like that. I mean, kind of with what you're saying is like, to me, it's like, I love that meme. It's like, this one fell first, who fell first, but who fell harder. And so it's always the person who is, if there is any sort of battling against it, that's the person who always falls harder. And so, Chloe, to your point of like this, like, I'm just thinking about the two in my story. It's like that wolf shifter is never leaving that raven shifter alone for the rest of his life. And I love it, and I also really like that you can do stuff like that, like because I was like, okay, well, in the animal world, so I'm doing shifters, and in the animal world, who are some complementary animals? Kind of, Jennifer, to your point, it's like these people they're perfect complement. And so I didn't realize this, but wolves and coyotes do really well with like corvids and ravens and stuff like that. And so I didn't know that, and so it was kind of fun to have, I don't know, to me, that kind of to also be able to sort of wrap into it, something that happens in nature, so that it feels a little more organic, even though it is that sort of lightning struck feeling.
Yeah, but it's so funny how often. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just wanted to know, Kelly, did you do a raven shifter?
A raven shifter, yeah, a raven and a wolf.
Crows. I did a crow.
we make some jokes about crows. I have a village with a crow.
I'm fighting words.
All right, don't make me separate you two down there. I really like, I didn't even think about it until Kelly was saying it. So often you have at least one of them who is like, no, not me. either
That's
because
about
they
it.
think they don't deserve one, they think they can't have one, you know, whatever. And the other person is just like,
Right.
are.
Yeah.
So,
No, because like
you know,
the Raven comes from a family where for generations, like that's been, and I made sure to make a point of it. It's not in a shitty way. Like if you don't get mated, you're a shitty person and you're less than. You know, you're still very much loved in the family, but you know, they really are just a pack. You know, they're just a murder of romantics about it. You know, and but the wolf comes from a family who hasn't had a fated mating in like 3 generations, and so it wasn't even on his radar. You know, he's heard about it, but you know, that just
that's
sounds
not
whatever.
real.
Yeah, that's not a real thing in his
fairy
life.
tale.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
like, you know, this Raven thinks that, you know, fate has passed him by, and then all of a sudden he's gifted with this gorgeous wolf who, you know, would really just rather die than accept that that they were actually fated. And so that was kind of a fun thing to work through, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really great segue for us to maybe tell our listeners a little bit more about our individual stories. So, Kelly, you kind of got the ball rolling. Do you want to give us a little bit more detailed synopsis about your wolf and your raven shifter story?
Sure. And just to let you know, it's in a shared world that I've already written about and actually my other Fated Mates anthology, so that the people who like that will find some of the similar world building in this. And it's about a guy who moved into this shifter community to literally get away from like his ex-girlfriend. It was really, really bad. Literally moved halfway across the country into like the Texas Hill Country. Why? You know, literally just to get away from her and all of that, and was just starting over. And from Seattle, so he's been like, he thinks that the coffee in Texas is terrible. And so he goes into a new coffee shop, and the coffee shop is run. And it's the second. So, and the girlfriend he left was a crow. Sorry. And so he walks into the coffee shop, and it's like, this is an avian shifter. Like he can tell from all the sparkly, shiny things around. He's like, I can't get away from these people. And of course, out walks the raven shifter, and his name is Poe because of course. And then it is like all of a sudden his wolf starts like, oh, he's fucking cute, you know, and he's like, shut up, let me just get the coffee, you know, the coffee is mid, you know, all of that. And so and then of course, like the second they start talking, he literally can't help but come on to the guy. And then the second that they get into it, all of a sudden it's like, what the fuck is happening to me? And the Raven's like, we're mated. And he goes, no, we're fucking not. And he goes, yeah, we are. So, and then we're off to the races.
And I'm sorry, can you tell us what the story is called?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. The name would be good. It's called Shiny Things.
Oh, I love
that.
I just leaned right on into it.
You know, ravens are also really fascinating birds. Like,
they are.
Have you seen any of those videos with them where they will like do things just to have fun, right? Like where they'll get a garbage bag and like get on it and slide down a hill of snow, take it back up and go.
And if they like you, you can develop almost like a barter system with a raven. Actually, with crows too, but like, where you could put like literally shiny things out on, you know, the porch, and they'll come get it, and they'll give you a rock, or they'll give you, you know. And so I was able to do a little bit, like add in some of those details. You know, like when the family finds out, like they're so excited because they haven't had like a wolf shifter in the family in a long time, and the ravens just love the wolf shifters, which is true in real life too. Like ravens love wolves, so it's a very symbiotic relationship.
Oh my gosh, well, I look forward to reading that one. Who would like to go next?
I will go. Mine is very simply called The Crow King's Mate. And it's just so this clumsy and kind of shy, and somebody, he gets embarrassed very easily. He he's a college student, and he goes to college, and the first thing he does, very, very intentionally but accidentally on purpose, is make friends with a flock of crows that is on campus, because he didn't want to be one of the people that they remember as being an asshole. So he starts feeding them, and then 2 years later, he accidentally becomes part of their flock. Their murder is what they call it, of course. And so he is accidentally brought into the flock, and it turns out that one of his professors, the one that he can't take his classes because he has a huge crush on him, is the king. And it is just straight romance. Like, these two have some embarrassing moments for poor Amos, and then they're together. It's fun. It's supposed to be funny, like humorous, but not, I don't write comedy. It's just supposed to be humorous, and it's fun. And my crow's name is Corvin. Love it.
Love it. Perfect. All right. Lee, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, thanks. So mine is set in a series that I've already written called Outcast Mates. And my favorite thing in the whole wide world, I love it so much, is the mix of like a paranormal romance and like a ridiculously accurate historical setting. So they're all in like the 1600s in Hungary. And that was when Budapest was two different cities. So you had Buda and Pest, and they're separated by the Danube. And I, in this series, have my reader's favorite location was the Incubus brothel. So I decided to set it there. It's called The Twig and Berries, and it's in Pest, and it's like underground. And it starts off with, it's called Wounded Mate. So it starts off with an injured werewolf, and he's left for dead. He's in really bad shape. And I wanted to use one of my characters that was an MC in a previous book, because I just love the idea of having a wolf shifter and who's dying, and like a cat shifter who can like barely bring himself to care to like bark. Awesome. It was just so much fun to write. And so that's just like how it starts. That's all in the first 4 pages. And anyway, he's taken to the Incubus brothel to, to recover. And that's where he meets his incubi mate. And that's mostly just because I really love writing like horns and tails. Like, there's just nothing like a prehensile tail and a spiky scene. And it was such a romp. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed writing it. It did sorry, Kiki, it did sort of barrel into like 26,000 words. I have never really had much success in writing shorts. And so I was like, 26,000 words. That's great. That's so short. I did it. So I did it. Yeah.
You're totally fine. You had like 4,000 to spare. So
okay, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So mine is called Inferno. It is a prequel to a new spinoff series that I have coming next year called the Silver Oak Pack series. And it is a human and a tiger shifter, and they have been best friends their whole life. The human does not know about the paranormal. And so the tiger moves away to join like this other pack that is mostly big cats. And to get away from like his family and stuff, who's pressuring him to do things he doesn't want to do in his family's pack. And so he moves there. It's been a few months since they've seen each other. His friend comes to visit him, and immediately he is like, why does he smell so different? Like, it's the same, but it's so intense. And he doesn't realize at first that it's because like his tiger got confused because they grew up together, like viewed him as like more of a litter mate than a fated mate. And it took being away from each other for his tiger to realize, no, he's more than that. But then the human sort of jumps the gun and accidentally casts a spell on him by reading out of a book, because what harm could come from reading out of a book. And it's kind of a, like, I've only ever read it in fan fiction. There might be other books out there, but it's one of those like you gotta fuck or die situations.
Oh.
And so, but like without the weird, like dubious consent, like they definitely like both consent to it. But
we're good. We're gonna live.
yes.
Can I ask, are we not meant to think of Calvin and Hobbes? Was this, please tell me that this was not some super awesome Calvin and Hobbes?
It was not. That was unintentional. That I feel like Calvin, I don't know.
I'm going to
Maybe
read it with that in
before
mind,
my
though,
time.
just so you know.
I never really read them, so like that's not really. It didn't even occur to me. But thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
I'm just saying for marketing purposes.
Marketing purposes.
Well, so okay,
I love it. I'm not making fun of it. I really, really love it. I can't like y'all are talking about your stories, and I just can't wait to read them.
I know. This is the fun part of the roundtables too. It's like, woo, I can't wait. But so I'm the only one in the group who did not do a shifter. So mine is called The Demon and the Librarian, and it's part of my new cozy monster romance series called Monsters Hollow. And it features a demon, only demons are not the way that humans understand them in their religious traditions. They're just beings who happen to live in another dimension. And so Castiel, not to be confused with Castiel from Supernatural, although he does watch the show and he finds it amusing, is he is, living his best life in the demon world when all of a sudden the interdimensional demonic gong of destiny chimes for him, and he has been summoned. And so in my kind of world, summoning only happens when your mate finds the magical object you have sent out into the universe for them to find, essentially. So they make these when they're young. This is important. And so he made a book, right? Which leads us to our librarian, who's a human, newly hired at the night school in Monsters Hollow. And he is just getting adjusted to things, and he is working the night shift at the library when he discovers a book without a barcode that is somehow shelved on one of his library shelves. And what the heck is this doing here? And so he pulls it out and he realizes it's magical, and he thinks, well, maybe I should wait for one of my coworkers when they show up. But he's like, no, I can't resist because I'm a librarian and I have to know what this book is about. So he opens it and he starts reading it. And let's just say there are some dirty limericks in this book that involve the summoning. And then our demon shows up, and guess what, darling? We're fated mates. And Yuki wants nothing to do with this, of course. And so they have 2 weeks to solidify their relationship, or else the bond between them could be severed forever. So that's my contribution to the collection.
I love demon stories.
Right?
That sounds like so much fun.
So do I.
That does sound great.
So can I ask folks to tell us a little bit about what did you find easiest and also hardest about writing your particular story?
Okay, I got a hard one. I can go for the what was hard. Mine started out too similar to Mongrel. I have this book called Mongrel where there's a werewolf that's like 3/4 wolf and only 1/4 human, and he doesn't really have a full human form. And so I have written that, and I love that. But this other werewolf in my Wounded Mate story, I wanted him to be like super feral, like tragic past scenario, and he's just like in the wilderness living in the woods, and he's just gone like full wolf, right? And they were in the beginning, they were just too similar, and I wrote the beginning, I don't know, 15 times before I swear it was terrible before I figured out what was different. Like I knew in my head it was different. I just knew it, but I just could not pin it down for the life of me. But then once I had it, and I'm not gonna say it because it's a bit of a spoiler, but man, once I had it, I was off and running. So that was definitely the hardest thing for me, was like, I don't know, starting was hard.
There's like you almost have to have, like, when you get I'm sorry, I'm just dealing with that with the series I'm currently working on, and it's like I'm just glad that I'm stubborn that's what it is. It's like a stubbornness. Like, I am going to get this right if it kills me.
That's exactly how.
And then but you keep on doing it, and then it's like eventually you get there, and it's like just not giving up.
Yeah, I was like, no, I got it. I know I have it.
It's in there somewhere.
I just have to mistake my way through it.
Yes, mistake my way through.
That's such a great way of putting it. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if I'm talking like the easy part was I have written this setting before, right? I'd already written the setting. It existed, it was there. I loved it. I can close my eyes and see it. So that was definitely the easiest part. Setting done. Bam. Yeah.
So for me, the hardest thing for all of my books, excuse me, the hardest thing for all my books is I can write like 5,000 words easy. Like, I can do that in one sitting whenever I first start the book. 5,000 words, done. After that, I have to take like a 2-week break and then figure out where I'm going with it. So always the hardest part of any book that I am is just getting past that initial, I'm really excited about this, and I've got 5,000 words that I can get down right now. And as soon as I am done, then I have no idea what to write next. And that's always the hardest part for every book for me. And this one started out as a meme, I think I found a meme about a college student who had accidentally befriended a flock of crows or something. And that's how it started out. So I had like the concept, but I did not know where it was going. So I don't know, I think I got 2 chapters in, and then I had labeled the next chapter with the professor, with Corvin's, because I did the first 2 chapters with Amos, and then I labeled the next chapter I was going to start with Corvin, and then I just couldn't, like, I didn't know, like, what am I going to say? Anything that I say right now with Corvin is going to be, it's going to like ruin what I have planned for like the comedy part of it. Right. So I ended up writing like 4 chapters just from Amos's point of view, and just sprinkling in like the first 4 chapters just from Amos, and then sprinkling in Corvin as like I know readers like dual POV. I like dual POV. So I just sprinkled him in as a fan service, basically, because it would have been funnier if I had just done a single point of view, but I did fan service too. I'm also my own fan, so it was my own.
I want to hear what he has to say. Yeah.
Right.
I know what you mean.
So that was just the hardest part.
That's so funny, Jennifer, because it's like mine is the opposite. Like, I can get through the bulk of the book, and then I get to the last 20% and I must set it down. Like, I've done the thing where I tried to like push through, and it's like, no, I actually have to set it down for 2 weeks to figure out, like, even though I know how it's going to end, like bringing all the things together. That's so weird that you and I have the same thing, but like at the opposite ends of the book.
What I was going to say, the other end of the manuscript, like sometimes I get boggled down in the middle because it's middle, right? And you have to hit all your beats and get it all there, right? Right. But then I get to like the last 20%, and that goes by way fast, like as fast as the beginning, like that first 5,000 words, that last 20%, I'm like, I got this. And it's done.
Yeah. I always hate my middle. By like 40-50%, I'm like, this sucks. Everything about this sucks. I suck. Everything before this was a fluke. Like, and I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, we've been here before.
Yeah.
Walk away.
It's actually how you know, like, if to me, that's how I know I'm halfway through, is if I'm looking around and it feels like I'm floating, like in the Titanic, like after the Titanic, when there was just like bits floating around, it wasn't really a boat anymore.
Just remnants.
And that's what this is. It feels like this isn't even a book. It's not even a story. It's like
That's the perfect analogy.
I'm floating in detritus and I'm supposed to wire this together somehow.
Grab the duct tape.
So now I just understand that that's actually a really good thing because it means I'm halfway through.
Right?
Like that sense of dread is the signal
I've hit
that
the
I'm
midpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And I
It's
can
all
step
downhill
up.
from here.
It's the dread, right? It's the dread. Like you feel that. I've come up with a solution to this dread. And the only people that like it are my betas.
Oh.
I have a very specific beta that I say, hey, I hate this. Will you please read it and tell me it's good? And she does.
I like it
every time.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
I've done that.
I've done somebody who yeah. No, that's smart.
Sometimes I'll do it when I'm just like 3 chapters in. I'll be like, is this garbage? And it's always E.M. Lindsay who I send it to. And they're always like, it's not going to be, but I will read it. Yes.
Yep.
10 minutes later, it's great. Keep going. I want to read more.
Yeah, it's the, hey, I need more now. That is really good.
Motivation.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Is it wrong? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I know for this one, like the most difficult part for me writing this story was because it is introing a new series. And so, which was briefly mentioned in the original series, the Kincaid Pack series, like you meet them very briefly in book 5. And so it's not like it's completely brand new, but not like I want people to be interested in other characters, but I don't want to bog down the story with the world building of this specific pack stuff. And, so it's like picking and choosing what characters are going to be in it. Cause I also wanted to keep it very short and tight. And so I was like, okay, so I want this person and this person because his book is number 1 and his book is number 4 and he's most important. And then like one other person I brought in and I'm like, otherwise that's it. We don't get very much. So, but like deciding how much to actually include was very difficult for me. It was the easy part for me was definitely I had known for like the last year that this was going to be the prequel for the story. Like long before the anthology came up, I was like, this is what I'm going to use for my prequel to, offer it for free, to sign up for my newsletter. Like this is what I'm going to do. So I'd had this idea of best friends accidentally, one cursing the other, like that. I had the general bare bones of it. So that part was kind of easy. I'm like, okay, I just gotta get in there. But then I'm in there and I'm like, okay, how much do I just look? No, okay, I'll just gonna include like this very vague reference, like so keeping it compact and not filling up all of the space with all of the interesting things about this new pack that's readers are getting introduced to was the hard part for me, for sure.
That is hard. It's like sticking the landing. It feels to me, it always feels like doing something like that, because actually I just did that with my new series, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and it feels like there's about a million ways I could get this wrong and a couple ways I can get this exactly right. And the thing is, it's like it's a trust fall into your own writing to know that you can absolutely stick it because you absolutely can, but it's like you have that moment of like so maybe that's when we send it to the betas. I love it. With this story, for me, it was actually really, I don't know, everything was, except for that, like and not even like I get through the climax even, but it's like, how do I resolve it in a way that feels organic and satisfying? But the story itself, like I had the bulk of the story down over a weekend because I just couldn't stop writing about it. And I just couldn't so really the hard part was like figuring out like who the shifters were going to be and then like researching it. And because I was like, well, because I was really interested in ravens and I wasn't thinking of doing like a wolf shifter again, because I've done a wolf shifter before. But then I was like, oh, ravens. And I didn't realize like the compatibility. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm going for it. And then just the story.
You can never have too many wolves.
That's right. That's true. Good point.
This coming from Kiki.
Yeah. Yeah. No bias there at all. But it felt like I was just downloading the story and then sort of like transitioning from that lustful into something that felt like forever was a little bit of a difficult transition for me. But then, again, I just shoved it in a drawer for a couple of weeks and then came back, and it kind of, again, wrote itself. So I don't know. I love stories like that where you're not, it was one of the rare stories where it was just like, I couldn't type or dictate fast enough to keep up with the download that was happening. And that's when you've got a good story. It's when that download is going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had some similar challenges to Kiki in the sense that, like, this is a story that's still really the start of a series. I'd written one short prequel, The Bogeyman and the School Teacher, and this is another short before the first novel, The Orc and the Manny, comes out later. And so part of it's also like, not only is it paranormal, but it's small town. So I have to like set up enough of the world of the small town that like people are like, I want to return to this quirky town known as Monsters Hollow to the humans, right? And, some of the interesting characters who live there, some of who will get stories down the road and, other, and so like and do the romance. And so like, I don't typically write short. Like all of my novels have been over 100,000 words so far. So this was a really good challenge for me as a newer author to try to do this. And it's really made me think about like a lot of things as a writer, which kind of brings me to my next question, which is sort of, what made you want to get involved in an anthology, this one or also potentially others, and thinking about kind of like what are the pros and cons of contributing to an anthology?
For me, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I don't normally write. I don't have much of, most of what I write is contemporary. And so for me, an anthology like this is a way for me to like dive into the paranormal a little bit more. And an anthology is always a good way for people to see your writing in a low stress, like in a, low stress way. But for me, just totally selfishly, I loved the opportunity, and, working with Kiki, she and I have, been chatting about other things. And so the ability to work with Kiki on this was also definitely a plus. And then just being able to sort of dive into some paranormal stuff. It's like a treat.
I like participating in anthologies and things like this. Well, first of all, I'm very dedicated to the charity on this one. Like, if you had picked a charity that I didn't support, I probably would have pulled out. So I'm very dedicated to the charity on this one. But also, I really like the group projects because I get to know some of my peers, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about making friends because the MM community is fantastic, right? I have not met somebody so far. I haven't met anybody in the community that I didn't either get along with in short term or just genuinely like and want to be friends with, right? Like I'm very slowly wooing Kelly, very slowly. Like occasionally I'll just slip into her DMs and be like, hey, I really like this.
What's funny is I love bomb Kelly. Like, I'm like, let's be best friends. I love Hopper.
I love you. We're friends, Jennifer. There it is.
You heard it here first, folks.
So, yeah, I really like the group projects because I like getting to know everybody. But also, this is my selfish thing, and it's not the genre or anything. It's because I like reaching other people's readers, because these things actually do work like that. The last one I was in, I got several messages from people who had never read anything that I wrote, but they read Poison Hearts, and they were like, this is amazing. And I'm like, yay, I've got new readers. You know, I like expanding my own circle of this community, and, you know, getting those messages from new readers, and it's exciting. And yeah, that's the other thing that I really like about this.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, I think people like see it as, oh, it's going to be like a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to write a short story. It's going to be a challenge to do it in X time frame. It's going to be, you know, and so they maybe only see like the negative stuff to it. Oh, I'm not going to make any money off of it, so why bother? But you absolutely, in the long run, will make money off of it. So I encourage any author who has the opportunity to either join an anthology or run one themselves. I'd never even done one before, and I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, I won't say for anybody else, but I'll say this is probably one of the best run anthologies. I've been on a couple, and I really think that this is one of the best run anthologies. Like, I feel like I knew where everything was all the time.
Which is funny, because there were definitely times I felt like I had dropped the ball. Like, oh, I should have thought of that. And it wasn't until somebody asked that I was like, yes, that's an excellent question. Here is the answer.
But so, no, but your responsiveness, because I don't think anybody anticipates that you, in addition to everything else that you're doing, is going to have all the balls in the air all the time. But like that, you have an answer when a question was asked. That to me is really, really critical. And it felt like we didn't overcomplicate things. And it felt like, and I think that like because it was the first time you were doing this and you were just kind of in the most straightforward way possible, it felt simple to be a part of. Like, I felt like I had enough reminders that I wanted to like make sure my story was, you know, sharp and in on time, but, you know, I didn't feel it was just a really good balance. So good job on it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad people felt that way, because to me, it's been like the last like little bit here is like where I've actually had to do like more work. Otherwise, before that, it's just like, oh, hey, here's the number of pre-orders we have. And don't forget, your manuscripts are due on this date. So like there wasn't a ton for me to do. And now I'm like, oh, got to put it all together now. So, you know, but other than that, it was like 2 days of like formatting and getting the arcs ready and getting everything set up. And then since then, it's been so it's, like, it can seem intimidating, but if somebody wants to do one, like, just do it. Like, it's so great. And like you guys said, it absolutely will get you new readers, because the MM community is growing every year so much that it is impossible for a reader, even one that is prolific, that reads 300 books a year or more, to know about everyone, especially when you have people out there who are putting out books like every 4 to 6 weeks. So it's like, you know, they're keeping up with their favorite people. Maybe they don't even have time to discover somebody new, or they don't want to take the chance of reading something that they might not like. And this is, you know, you put a bunch of authors in there, and there's going to be a couple that, oh, I like them and I like them, so I'll get it. And then this sounds interesting, I'll give it a try. Oh, I really like this. And then they go back and they read your entire backlist, and you got a fan for life. So in the long run, it definitely will help people build up their reader bases and make them money and get them more established and stuff. But it definitely, like Jennifer was saying, like, the charities that we're doing it for, like, they're so important right now. The work that they're doing is so vital right now, that being able to give as much as we possibly can to them is very important to me. I feel like there was another part to your question and we got so off track.
Oh, no, this is great and really okay. I mean, I think that
was there a con? Maybe it was a con. I don't know if I really, the only con to me, taking away the organizational part, because that was my choice. But the only con to me would be sometimes it can be very difficult to write a short story, and to do it in such a way knowing that it'll be available only for X amount of time, and then having to decide what to do with it afterwards. So like there can be some drawbacks, but again, in the long run, like, I just think it is very valuable. It's
Yeah.
valuable to gain these friendships, to network with people, to expand your reader base, like all around, mostly pluses, very little minuses.
Yeah. One thing that we haven't mentioned that I think is actually, because nothing happens without, the things that are going on around us. And right now we are in over the last couple of weeks and then into the next couple of months, there are some pretty heavy hitters in gay storytelling coming out. Red, White, and Royal Blue keeps on popping up to the top of gay romance. And as it has, every time there's been a big ad for the movie, which just came out, it really, that goes to the top, but then people read that and then they want something else. Yeah. And, sometimes they're probably likely mostly going to go into contemporary, but, the fact of the matter is that we're getting a lot of, to your point about expanding. Well, we're in the middle of probably a pretty big push of expansion in readers because of the number of stories that are coming out. People will want more. Yeah, and right. I think that charity anthology in a slightly not quite contemporary sort of settings still gets some additional eyes. So I think that the accidental great timing of this is also going to benefit across the board. And, definitely, Jennifer, exactly what you were saying, like, with focusing just on the amount that we're able to give to the charity, I don't know about y'all, but I have been feeling awful helpless. I live in Texas, and being a part of this makes me feel less helpless. It makes me feel like, okay, I can take, a skill I have and use it for good. And to me, I love that, I think we're going to get more eyes on all of the writers in this anthology, but I also am super, super excited that for somebody, like, I can vote and I can donate, but to be able to use, what I do for a living to also help is also really meaningful.
Yeah, and make a bigger impact than you could individually. Most people can't afford to like write a $10,000 check to a charity.
Yeah,
no matter how much they believe in it. So
because see, to me, the confluence of the wave of new readers, I think we'll be getting, like, even though our pre-orders are amazing, those will not be everything. Once the KU reads come in, I think that it's going to be pretty substantial. And I think that we're really going to get, I think we're really going to benefit from that wave of readers, even if we're off the main subject.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there is, an audience for queer paranormal as well, in the sense of, like, so you mentioned Red, White, and Royal Blue, but like, I also just recently finished season 2 of Good Omens, which has basically morphed into an romance.
Exactly.
And like, yes, the fandom is going bazonkas over this, right? Like, so I think that there is a craving and a desire there. And I think that I think we've only really touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of potential readership. I'm excited to see where this is going to go in the next 5, 10, 15 years. I think it's just going to keep getting bigger. But I do really love how our community has, I think from the beginning, been very committed to giving back. To giving back to the LGBTQ plus community in meaningful and powerful ways. And I think a lot of this charity anthology type of work does that. As soon as I knew it was a charity anthology, I was like, yes, sign me up. I will find a way to make this work in my schedule. That was like my first and foremost, like, kind of investment in wanting to get in there. But then you've all raised really great points about for those who are watching, who are aspiring authors or new authors, the kind of opportunities that being involved in an anthology can open up for you, where you might think initially like, oh, but I'm not actually going to make any money on this. Do I really want to sacrifice my limited time to put this out? But the reality is you can definitely make money on the back end by getting new readers' eyes on your work. And, when maybe a reader might pick up this anthology anthology because there's one author they know and they love. But then they're like, well, you know what? I spent $9.99 on this. I might as well read all the other stories, right?
Yes.
And like, you know, I mean, that's I think a way to where, you know, you get a greater likelihood of people when they actually buy an anthology, and they may do it for that one person, that they'll take the time to read a lot of the other stories in it too. So this is all super great kind of things for us to think about, and for our viewers to contemplate if they're interested in potentially being involved in an anthology, but also in terms of just supporting an anthology. If you were on the fence about like, should I get this? I know that Kiki, it's only going to be available for a limited time, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
Just September and October.
Yep, September 1st through October 31st is the only time it's going to be available. After that, you won't be able to find it anywhere. And I know sometimes readers get really disappointed when, you know, a few months after, like the Heart to Heart anthologies are the same way. They're only available for a limited time. And every once in a while, you'll see like a reader ask like, oh, where can I find this? And, you know, you don't want to be the person to be like, it was only a limited time. Now you have to track down every single author and see if they have their story available somewhere else. But yeah, that'll be, you have 60 days, 61 days, I can count, to get it. And then that'll be it. Everything will scatter to the wind. It'll be debris in the ocean, like the Titanic.
So don't miss out.
No.
Well, this has been so great talking with all of you. Before we kind of wrap up here, I want to give everyone a chance to discuss, obviously, anthology work kind of is fit in with our other bigger publishing schedules. And I know many of you are quite busy with stuff you have going on. So I'd love to give you an opportunity to tell listeners a little bit about kind of what you have coming in the pipeline in addition to your story in this anthology coming out September 1st.
This is Lee, and I am working on a new series now. My old series are both connected to it. So I have been writing paranormal within a historical setting. Like, I'm such a dork about that. And so my Immortal Jewels series is like in the 1400s. It's sort of Anne Ricean. It like starts, you know how like like you were saying, heart, like Red, White, and Royal Blue, and then Good Omens. Like the other thing that's happening right now is Interview with the Vampire is having a resurgence.
Yes.
So much. Yes. And I love her style. Like, she wrote Louis first, and you just get this snippet. That's like Louis's life. And then the next book, you get it from Lestat's perspective, and it is a longer snippet, right? Because he is older, and she just keeps going like backwards in time. And I'm obsessed with it, and have always sort of had that in my planning. So the Immortal Jewels series is like that. It goes backwards in time. You learn more as the series progresses. And then I did Outcast Mates was the next series that was more in the 1600s, and they are related. And then my plan during both of those series was to go into a fantasy realm, because I wanted to get out of historical and be able to do my own world building, but I wanted them to be connected, and I'm finally there. Like, it's happening. The first book is out. It's called Tattered Allegiance. It's just the like introduction to the new world. And then I have a duet coming, and then I'm going to do the villain last, because the villain arcs are my favorite. So it's just the Luminia series. And my short for the anthology is related to absolutely everything else. They're all
connected.
Master plan. I mean, I think I'm clever. I don't know if any readers are going to figure it out. Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
I love a connected world.
Such a dork.
Other stuff
that's great.
readers have to look forward to.
Well, I just completed my Wild Heart Ranch series, which is like Ranch and Murder Swoon. And I needed to give myself a break from the Murder Swoon. And so I am actually really excited about this series I'm working on, just small town Texas. And it's actually a real town in Texas called Seguin. That is real. It almost seems it's right in mid-explosion. Like, it is right in mid-explosion. It used to be sort of a much looked over town. And so what that means is that used to be very queer unfriendly, and now it is literally shifting as we're speaking. It is shifting to something that is a bit more accepting. And so you have people who left who are coming back. And so this series is small town, and then people sort of seeing the homophobic place they grew up in change before their eyes. And so they're all coming back. And what that means, and like some old high school dynamics coming back into play. And so it's just straight up contemporary small town, but it's in a town that I'm familiar with that is in real time blowing up. And, you know, being able to like go and talk with the locals about some of the issues that they're having and like some of the growing pains that they're seeing made it very cool and interesting. And the first book starts with a tattoo preacher who likes to brandish a baseball bat every once in a while. So, you know.
So excited. So excited.
Very cool.
So perfect. So perfect. I have the third in my novella trilogy, Forever Families, coming out also in September. And then I'm having I can't even remember his last name. Liam, the narrator who did Only James's Necessary Evils series. I can't remember it's D.
Oh,
something.
Michael Leslie?
No, it's
DeCosimo.
DeCosimo. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
he's going to do the narration for all three of those. So in September also. So I'm really excited about that. And then I have, what else do I have? I don't even know. I have my it's going to be a standalone despite what other people have said.
Listen to you. Story.
The Mobster's Mate is coming in December, and it is connected to the Kincaid Pack series and the Silver Oak Pack series. But it is going to be a standalone if I have to kill myself. That is the goal. So yes, very excited. Human mobster, Jaguar shifter, fated mates.
Ooh.
Very, very exciting. Possibly a little darker than people are used to. Not like super dark. I can never do super dark. But you know, this human mobster is maybe not going to care as much if he has to hurt people to protect his mate than, you know, some other people. And then in 2024, I have the Silver Oak Pack series is starting. So I've got, and Ian Lindsay and I have a new co-write coming in like November. I got a few things coming.
Couple things.
Yeah, just a couple.
So essentially what I have coming in the pipeline here is the first full-length novel in my Monsters Hollow series, The Orc and the Manny. It comes out September 22nd. And then I am also working on a super secret Christmas project that will be coming out after Thanksgiving and involves some other people as well. And I'll be making some announcements about that a little closer to October. So stay tuned for that. But there's lots of fun stuff ahead. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today and participating in this roundtable. And thank you all for donating your time and your creativity to this really worthwhile anthology for charity. I'm so excited to see us raise a lot of money to give to both of these amazing organizations. So readers, if you are on the fence, don't miss out on this limited time opportunity to get a really stellar collection with so many fantastic authors. I know I can't wait to have my copy in my hot little hand to read. So
absolutely.
Thanks so much, everyone. And until next time, I'm Chloe Archer, and I'll be back again with another episode soon.
Bye.